Have you ever wondered how to truly activate that serpent power, that Shakti energy, that energy that rises up the spine? We're going to do a deep dive here today because there are certain things you need to understand about the Shakti energy, as well as Kundalini. I've made a video a couple of months ago where I talk about the 3 Shaktis. Huh? 3 Shaktis? Everyone talks about Kundalini energy. And I think Kundalini energy means Kundalini awakening. And the paths that people go down, the nonsense that people talk about. No offense to the person that wrote it, but one person said, I have a Kundalini energy blockage. How do I free it? What's a Kundalini energy blockage? You have an energy blockage, or Shakti hasn't woken. But a Kundalini energy blockage, what's that? So we have 3 Shaktis. The 3 Shaktis, one is in the root, the famous coiled serpent in the root. The other one is Shakti in the root, coiled serpent in the root. And the other one is Shakti in the root, coiled serpent in the root. What? So where's the root? Yeah. This is where things get fun because, and you will find, so a lot of people are probably going to watch this and say, absolute rubbish, absolute nonsense. There are different lineages if you go study this. It's not something I'm saying. It's something I've experienced. It's something which is the way you can tell whether something is real or not is by experiencing it. We don't know for a fact whether humans went to the moon. The only people that can say whether the humans went to the moon are the humans that went to the moon. They experienced it. Apparently, according to Buzz Aldrin, they didn't go, but another subject. It is classically said that the chakras are in the spine and therefore the root is in the coccyx. And this is the general teaching I say, and I talk about because this is what is known. But we're talking about advanced work here. So yes, we have one Shakti in the spine. That is where Kundalini Shakti lies. There are certain forms of Tantra and certain forms of yoga that say, well, the chakras aren't actually in the spine. They're in the center of the body. Let's analyze a chakra. A chakra. Technically, most people say it's in the spine, but each chakra has a horizontal channel, and it goes from a specific point in the spine through. It passes through in the center of the body, glands, and reaches at the front of the body, plexuses. Plexuses, solar plexus. Plexuses are, they used to say they are nerve endings, a sort of like delta, like a delta in a river, the Nile Delta expanding out, of nerve endings within the body. they now actually say, well, they're not quite normal nerve endings. They're actually more like neurons. And we have them at the height of each plexus. And this is very easy to tell because there's, if thing like touch, if I touch right in the center here, there's a point that's painful. In front of every chakra, there is a point that if you press it, it is painful. And it could be one point or several points. So again, this is just proof there are these special nerve endings that if you press other points of the body, it doesn't hurt. So we have the point in the spine, we have the points in the center, and we have the points at the front. 3 Shaktis. Kundalini Shakti in the spine. It's very clear. When Kundalini rises, Shakti rises up the spine. For me, it's always been ironical that the 6th chakra is the pineal gland because Shakti rises up the spine, gets to the top of the head, turns 90 degrees, heads straight into the center of the head, turns 90 degrees again, and goes up to the crown. Very logical stuff, right? Rather than going up the spine, getting to the back of the head, passing through not the pineal gland, but the Bindu chakra, and just going straight up to the crown. No, that's not the 6th chakra. The 6th chakra is the pineal gland. Why? Because everybody says so. Because everybody's reading from the same people, and these people perhaps simply made a mistake. How dare he say that? I've tested this with a lot of people. Not telling them what I'm doing, asking them to do things, seeing what just sits better. So perhaps the 6th chakra is not the pineal, but wait, it's not that simple. Perhaps the 6th chakra channel, the horizontal channel, runs from the Bindu through the pineal to the forehead. And this point in the forehead, everybody knows when you start to activate the pineal, this warms up and gets buzzy or tickly or... If you look at the staff of Was, not Hindu, Egyptian, the staff of Was very clearly, staff with a point at the top, this very powerful channel. So the pineal is part of the 6th chakra channel. It is the one at the center. Just like in the heart chakra, there's another gland there. Thymus gland runs through the center of the heart chakra. Yeah. Some people say that's a little bit higher up. That's in the 8th chakra system. That's the higher heart chakra, and then the lower heart chakra runs through the center of the heart. We get to a point where we start splitting hairs. But so Kundalini Shakti rises up the spine, doesn't take a 90-degree turn. It goes to the Bindu chakra and to the crown. We then have what I like to call Tantric Shakti. And this is the front channel. We can talk about the back and front channels, the Reimai and the Dumai, if you wish, coming from the Chinese systems. We can do that. We use different names from different places. Oh, but one goes up and one goes down. Yes, but the microcosmic organ can be cycled forwards and cycled backwards. Therefore, they both go up and they both go down. Shakti rises, Shiva falls. Why do I call it the tantric channel? Because Kundalini is part of Tantra. It is because this is a very easy channel to activate with your sensual essence, your sensual energy. When you get turned on, it is very easy to flow that up the front. We can flow up the front, we can flow up the back, we can flow down the front, we can flow down the back. Just circling, not talking about Shakti, just talking about prana. Very easy to circulate, or the essential energy. We then have Shakti number 3. Shakti number 3. So Shakti number 2, the front channel. Some people will say it starts at the sacral chakra. Other people will simplify and just say it starts in the genitals. Internal or external genitals, this is why it could differ between men and women, the start of that chakra. Lots of things are connected because for a lot of people, this is a gross generalization and it's not necessarily correct. It is helpful when working. And this is because that sensual energy in women tends to be activated more through the heart than the genitals, and in men it tends to be more through the genitals than the heart. Gross generalization, but at the same time, for a lot of people, this does also ring true. This doesn't mean to say there aren't men that are more activated through the heart and there are women that are more activated through the genitals. Also true. But then we have this third Shakti. And this is where there are these different tantric and yogic systems that say the chakras are in the center of the body, which run through these glands, which means the Muladhara is in exactly the same place as the Mulabandha. So it's not in the spine, it's in the perineum. And again, if we think about this logically, we have glands that run up the center of the body. We have the granthis that run through the center of the body. Alternating with the granthis, we have the dantians running in the center of the body. So we have something that we could call the middle pillar running through the center of the body. We have a back pillar, a middle pillar, and a front pillar. The middle pillar, for anyone that studied the Golden Dawn, Western esotericism and spirituality, Israel Regardie spoke a lot about the middle pillar. A front pillar, a middle pillar, and a back pillar. Interconnected in different ways through different channels. Have you ever seen the Kabbalistic tree of life? That symbol. They say left pillar, central pillar, and right pillar. But that's just the way it's drawn on a piece of paper. If that's turned 90 degrees, we suddenly have a front pillar, a middle pillar, and a back pillar. Yoga talks about the Ida, the Pingala, and the Kundalini. Or the Ida, the Pingala, and the Shushumna. The Ida, the Pingala, and the Shushumna, not the Kundalini. Again, due to the restrictions on how people could draw art, because when these things were created, when these things were drawn artistically, all art, apart from basically with the Chinese, all art was two-dimensional, face-on. There were no side drawings. Chinese were the only ones that really worked that out. All the rest are face-on, or very bad attempts at side-on, which was side-on but face-on, and that's just history of art, if you've ever studied it. If not, you might be interested to go know. So we have Ida Pingala and Sushumna. The Sushumna is the spine, right? But just imagine if somewhere, someone, one person in the yogic traditions didn't understand and switched left, center, and right, or front, center, and back to left, center, and right, because of the artistic framework that it was drawn in. There's a shocker. No, he's got to be wrong. But then that would then coincide with all other energy systems, accounting for the history of art and the mistake people have realized. Everything suddenly, magically fits together. So is he trying to say, let's get this straight, is he trying to say that Kundalini doesn't rise through the spine? I'm not saying Kundalini doesn't rise through the spine. That cosmic energy rises through the spine. Boy, does it rise through the spine. The sensual, so Kundalini doesn't run through the central channel. Kundalini Shakti, careful, Kundalini Shakti and Kundalini Shiva run through the spine. And it's not the central channel. It's not the main part of everything. How dare he say that? I don't just read books. I don't just limit myself to the beliefs of others. I test myself with other people. We work through things, we figure things out. I don't just work from other people's words for things. I always have. I've always taken things from different places, compared, contrasted. It's what I do. I was taught to do this. I was educated to do this. I remember when I was at primary school, I was at a religious school. It was a Christian school, but it had different churches of Christianity in it. And so one of the things we had to do, primary school, we were given, it was about 7 or 8 Bibles. So the Bible, one Bible. No, we were given different publications and we had to compare and contrast the different Bibles. And hey presto, one had water into wine and another one didn't. Why? Because they were anti-alcohol. One had feeding of the 500, one had feeding of the 5,000, one had feeding of the 50. There were so many differences between these one book that it was very clear that it wasn't one book. It was a pure manipulation tool. King James Bible. Go study who King James was and why he had that published to unite a nation in a very dictatorial way. And you will understand why the book was written. When you understand what he thought about spirituality, not religion, spirituality, as in non-Christianity, spiritual healing, blah, 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 all the things that used to, when you understand his mind about that type of thing, and his tyranny and the way he ruled, you understand why that book was written. I digress. But this happens over history and things get changed. And when the information is kept within a small band of people, it doesn't take much to change the information. In a generation, everything can change. Our generation, everybody thinks the chakras are the colors of the rainbow. Something designed in 1970. Before 1970, there were no colors of the rainbow to the chakras. It changed in a generation. And that wasn't with a small amount of people controlling it. That was simply through powerful publications that people liked and spread the word. It's easier to do than we think. But we're going back to a time when very few people, there were a few gurus that controlled the information. And just through one becoming more powerful who changed their mind, can change history. This has been done time and time again through history. So we have to look at things in this way, and we have to go back and we have to find the mistakes, and we have to compare and contrast. If you look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs, there are many clues there. If you look in South America, there are many clues there. All over the world, there are many clues to help us, because this isn't exclusively Indian. And so Kundalini Shakti and Kundalini Shiva, most do definitely flow through the spine. That is not incorrect. But then we have something called Jing. And it's quite funny, we have Jing, Shen, Jing, Qi, and Shen, with a fourth that basically still isn't talked about or translated into English, called Wei, which is an external energy. These are the energies that flow through the dantians. This is through the center of the body. Yes, they also use the microcosmic orbit to flow them, but they also flow through the center, these energies. If we talk about that central energy, this is Jing, this is pure essence. So it is the cosmic energy that flows through the spine. It is the pure essence that runs through the center of the body. And then we have we could call it life force energy, prana. Okay, prana can flow everywhere. We have this sensual energy, this creative energy that flows through the front of the body, which is the one that creates all these movements and spasms and in somatic work. Well, I just said prana flows all through the body. These spasms can be created through convulsions of the plexuses, very common. The most place that causes the tensing and the releasing is the solar plexus at the front. But this pranic energy, this somatic energy, can also flow through the spine, and it can be the spine. So it's not a simple thing. We are complex systems. There are 3 Shaktis found coming from the pelvic region: the back, the middle, and the front. There's a powerful energy that flows up the spine. There is a powerful energy that flows through the center of the body, and there's a powerful energy that flows up the front and down. Because consciousness, Shiva, is not contained. So whilst the Shaktis, the energies, might be contained within these places. And this is why people who have Kundalini activation, like, oh, the energy was flowing all through my body. Prana, because it doesn't flow. Prana flows everywhere. Life force energy flows everywhere through the body. These concentrated energies need these channels, these big wide channels to flow through. And we have to open these channels for them to flow. But then when we get to, and that's only talking about Shakti rising, it can be Kundalini Shakti rising, Tantric Shakti rising, or what we can call Essence Shakti rising, or rising of the middle pillar, or whatever name we want to give it. Yet consciousness, Shiva, is very simply explained. Non-duality, there is only one. There is no separateness. Therefore, as the grace of divinity, the connection to consciousness that is everywhere, that is everything, as you rise Shakti, particularly Kundalini Shakti, and the front channel. The central channel is not important at this stage. When we're talking about Kundalini activation and Kundalini awakening, activation, a dangerous word thanks to that nonsense of somatic energy work. But when we're talking about Kundalini awakening, the spine is very important, and for the balance, the front channel is important too. The central channel is more advanced work. In my trainings, my first training, we work the front and the back channel. It is the central channel that is worked in my advanced trainings, along with a few other things. You have to get to a certain stage of consciousness to be able to go more advanced in a safe way, because when we start working the more advanced levels of Shiva, of consciousness, and that middle channel, if you think Kundalini syndrome is a problem, yeah, it's way harder when you go further, because consciousness, if you're not ready for it, can break you. It's not in an energetic way, not in a... It's a very strange sensation, and you have to be very strong. Nothing of ego death. You have to be very strong to be able to accept pure non-duality. You have to have a very strong ego with no program to be able to go that deep. Again, we're talking beyond what is technically called Kundalini, and because it's even to the point. Advaita Vedanta says they go further than Shaivism when it comes to non-duality. It's not true, because you have to be able to go beyond Shakti Shiv to get to Brahman, to say it in Hindu terminology. And then once you get to Brahman, once you get to the Godhead, we can say Shakti Shiv, we can say Isis Osiris if we want to. And then when we get to Ra, when we get to the Godhead, that is when we step off from the ego into pure non-duality. But that's beyond Kundalini. People think Kundalini is the be-all and end-all. It's a path of awakening. This is why it's called Kundalini Awakening. Once you're awake is when the journey gets interesting. If you're interested in going down that route, I work with people, not in groups, not in retreat style trainings for a couple of days. No. I work with people one-on-one to go down this as carefully as possible. Working online, can work in person if you want to, if you're willing to travel. But we can do it all online. If you want to go down these paths, go to theawakenenergy.com. Come, train with me. And if not, I truly hope all these videos help you to learn more about this stuff. See you in another video.